Oh, welcome into the Russ Joy Show. I'm Russ Joy. You figured that out because you're smart, and it's also the name of the show. And oh boy, we are we're about 24 hours or so away from getting ourselves mentally locked in and loaded for the start of NFL football, for the start of NFL Week 1, for the start of a potential back-to-back Super Bowl season for your team, your town, your Philadelphia Eagles, as they take the field against the hated and significantly less well-off, without Micah Parsons, Dallas Cowboys team. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. There is so much stuff to get to today. So I got done yesterday's show. I'm going to let's pull the comments up right here as people start flowing in across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Remember, if you're on X, you have to click the video first, go to Periscope mode, and then you can comment. Everywhere else, you just do your thing. If you remember, yesterday, I said, listen, we're going to do a show Tuesday. We're going to show on Wednesday. And I was like, hey, last week we did a Wednesday with, and so I had a couple of ideas of people I wanted to bring on the show for tomorrow. And then as the morning started progressing, I realized, oh, no. Wednesday cannot be a Wednesday with. There are too many things to get to. And if I brought a guest on, there was no way we were going to get to all of it. So we're going to probably push the guest thing back until Friday, which also makes sense because it probably would make sense to have somebody to play off of on Friday as we assess the damage that the Eagles do to the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. So today was wild. There were a few things that I saw last night that I was like, all right, those are good show topics for Wednesday's program. And then I thought about it, and as the morning's going, I went, oh my God. I mean, we had Charles Barkley flame the NBA. Then this morning, the thing that caught fire on Twitter is that Pablo Torre, on his show Pablo Finds Out, he uncovered one hell of a potential scandal with Kawhi Leonard and the LA Clippers. Those aren't even related to Philadelphia sports, but they're such big news stories. We're going to get to them later on in the show. I jokingly was like, oh, Emmanuel Acho put out a thing that he's starting a new show. We'll talk about that very briefly at the end of the show. If you're a fan of streaming your favorite games and maybe pay-per-view events, let's just say in the not legal way, you got some bad news today. That's also in the episode description. We'll get there a little bit later on. The NHL is expanding to an 84-game slate in 2026-27, Brandon Graham popped up with a new TV gig. NFL RedZone gave some terrible news. Scott Hansen went on McAfee's show today, gave out some horrible news. We also found out that there's going to be a huge documentary dropping in October, the same day that the Eagles take on the Giants, featuring Saquon Barkley. So we're going to have a documentary coming up. That on its own would be a little bit newsy. Stephen A. Smith put out his power rankings. Hint, the Eagles are very high on that list. Kyle Brandt picked his MVP for the upcoming season. Hint, it's a Philadelphia Eagle. We had some thoughts from Nick Wright about A.J. Brown maybe not being a great teammate or somebody who could be selfless, which we'll talk about in a second. But no, where are we starting today? We have a little bit of good news, and then we'll go to the comments. We have some good news. Ladies and gentlemen, we can all thank FanDuel. Not because they sponsor the show. They don't. They should, but they don't. FanDuel has done something. If you are a Philadelphia sports fan, you got very, very good news today. And that is FanDuel is saving SEPTA. I mean, not like all of SEPTA. Let's be real here. You can't save all of SEPTA, or can you? FanDuel has now partnered to save FanDuel, at least for now. Now, they partnered with SEPTA, and we'll throw it up here on the screen. You can maybe see it a little bit better. FanDuel has stepped up to provide resources to help fully restore service on SEPTA's Broad Street line for Thursday, September 4th, so that Philadelphia Eagles fans can safely and efficiently get to and from Lincoln Financial Field for the home opener. SEPTA will run regularly scheduled subway trains plus Sports Express trips before and after the game. Pre-game, Sports Express trips will run every 10 minutes to supplement local service. Post-game, SEPTA will have 10 express and 6 local trains ready to get fans home from Energy Station. Post-game trips will operate over a period of approximately 70 minutes, and SEPTA urges fans to go to NRG Station right after the game to ensure they can catch a train home. The FanDuel sponsorship covers free rides home for fans. The free rides from Energy Station begin at halftime and continue through the end of service. So, FanDuel saved the day. Now, we can have an argument about SEPTA funding. I could not give less of a shit about SEPTA funding right now. But what I do care about is the fact that more Eagles fans are going to be able to use SEPTA to get to and from the game on game day. Because if you didn't pay attention to this, the Eagles actually put out a statement saying, hey, if you don't have tickets to the game, maybe don't take public transit to the stadium. Maybe don't come to the game. Maybe don't tailgate. Let's keep the lines clear, or let's keep the transportation at a minimum going into the sports complex, which is insane. Now, there are people who yesterday thought, boy, maybe instead of putting out that statement, maybe instead of putting out a statement about, if you don't have a ticket to the game, you should go to the game, maybe the Eagles could have gotten a big public win, and that big public win would have been, hey, Eagles fans, we get it. SEPTA's not being funded right now. People are upset. We understand. We're going to cover the cost of the SEPTA rides, the SEPTA rail, the subway lines, the local train lines. We're going to sponsor it as the Philadelphia Eagles to make sure that you can all get to and from the game. The Eagles did not do that. So here we are a day later. FanDuel steps up. So I got to give kudos out there to FanDuel. I have to assume that there is going to be quite an influx of people signing up for FanDuel. And if you do, I highly suggest that you maybe go over to a site like, Crossing Broad, where they write a lot of FanDuel content. I'm just saying, it might be a good place, help it out. So we have a lot of stuff to get to, but that was a little bit of breaking news. It happened about less than an hour ago. So I figured we'd start the show a little bit of positivity here, a little bit of positivity on the rail line. So if you're going to be going to the Eagles game, you can let us know in the comments. Let's have a little chitty chat about tomorrow, about what to expect around the Eagles-Cowboys game. We'll get there in a little bit. But first, we'll go to the comments, and then we have so many things to get through and such little time to do it. Peter Tom Willis is over here on YouTube. Says he's a lucky guy. Good on you, Peter. I don't know why you're lucky. Maybe because there's a show on back-to-back days. Hexram is here. Says, hi, Russ. Love you, Russ. Still not sure, Hexram, but I appreciate you being here. Perhaps love you back, Hexram. Don't know, but maybe. Connor Buss on YouTube says, Jerry Jones, so mad he could have just made a shell company for Micah. We're going to get to that when we get to the Kawhi Leonard of it all later on in the show. But boy, oh boy, is it a wild. And there have been more things that have come out since the initial report dropped. Video Guy Amadeus here says, we love Eagles, Dallas. Let's see. Little G Griffith, thanks for being here. I don't recognize the name from before, so make sure you like the video, share the video, subscribe. Says, I'm a big fan of Eagles season. Better Eagles kick Cowboys' butts. Yes, I think the Eagles better kick the Cowboys' butts. I think we're going to try to parse that together. Yes, and I think they will. Tony Louie is here, has been giving us a regular countdown until Flyers training camp. Says only 18 days until Flyers training camp starts. Until then, I'll be sweeping out my garage and prepping my lawn for winter. Tony, you got to be at least a little bit excited about the Eagles, right? Maybe just a tiny bit. A little bit. Maybe a wee bit. Ford is here. He's overworked and tired, but he is here. Thank you for being here, Ford. Jim Crosso says, can we talk about Skinny Joey, Pat's king of steak beef? No pun intended. I don't know the story of the beef. I know that there was somebody who took a shot at Skinny Joey's cheesesteaks, which I have not tried yet. And we did talk about the fact that at Pat's, I Show Speed popped in there and put mayo on his cheesesteak yesterday, which, by the way, led to some very interesting comments, not only during the live stream, but after the show was over. I actually kind of feel like I might have to pull these up just for people to kind of have an idea of how weird things got when the show ended yesterday, because I honestly thought there was no way that people were going to back the idea of mayo on a cheesesteak. But hold on, there were a couple of comments that I want to just pull up. I can't pull them up here, but I can read them off to you. So Amy over on YouTube yesterday said, mayo is acceptable on a chicken cheesesteak, mustard and pickles on a regular cheesesteak. I don't know how to feel about the mustard and pickles on a regular cheesesteak. Seems reprehensible to me. But then again, we go with the idea of if it's okay on a burger, is it okay on a cheesesteak? They are both beef. Is it fair? Maybe. And then there was somebody, Harry Kaysen 4482, commented and said, salt, pepper, mayo, ketchup, mustard, fried onions. So you go in 3 condiments, mayo, ketchup, and mustard, fried onions, salt, and pepper. Seems a little bit condiment excessive, but okay. Now, I'm not trying to rehash this. I don't need to trigger anybody's, post-traumatic cheesesteak disorder today, some PTCD. So I don't need anybody to kind of go nuts today about the condiments, but I learned a lot about the audience yesterday with their cheesesteak orders. Just letting you know. Let's see. Connor says, need to try Skinny Joey. Heard nothing but good things. Gotta have to try it. Let's see. Jim Cochran says, it's been a while since I said this, and I figure I should before the Birds take over. So how about your Philadelphia Union? Huh? The only team in the Eastern Conference to clinch a playoff spot thus far. That's fair, Jim. It is fair. Eventually we'll get around to the Union. I don't even intentionally omit the Union. It's just so many things are going on at any given time. Let's see. Connor says, good cheesesteak just needs fried onions and provolone. I don't do provolone. I don't do provolone on the cheesesteak. I don't. Does that make me a bad person? 610-632. All right. Let's get into the Eagles of it all. Now, we have some Eagles stuff that we have to talk about. Then we have the Charles Barkley flame in the NBA thing, Kawhi, the Streameast getting shut down, Emmanuel Acho's new show, NHL 84 game schedule. There are so many things to get to. Such little time. We will get through as much of it as we can, which means all of it. But you can keep going in the comments. I'll try to get to as many as I can. But for those who are new to the show, we like to put the comments right down here in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That'll be the rolling comment section across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Again, if you're watching on X, you have to click the video, go into old Periscope mode, and if you comment there, your comment will pop up on the screen, and we can bring it up and all that. As many comments as I can get to today, I will. If you feel so moved by the spirit going into football season that you want to leave a super chat, you certainly can. You're not required to, but you can if you want to, and if you do, I'll absolutely prioritize your comment and bring it up on the screen. Okay. Let's get into the Eagles of it all because there are so many different things that we need to get to. I thought about starting with negative. I thought about starting with positive. There are so many different things to get to. Why don't we start with something that'll make your eyes roll through the back of your head? And we're not going to spend a lot of time on it, but we are going to talk about it really briefly because this happened yesterday. And I was like, this is a little bit weird that we have this idea that like Nick Wright has thrown out the idea that maybe of all the people who would be selfless on the Philadelphia Eagles, that the one guy who might not be a selfless player is A.J. Brandt. Now, if you remember a year ago, right? There was a lot of controversy stirred up on the radio about A.J. Brown. Is he a good teammate? Does he actually want to be here? All this. And then he ended up calling into WIP, and he was like, listen, I love being here. I love the fan base. I don't know where this is coming from. I love being here. I want to be here. I want to be an Eagle. That is that. And then there were still people who listened to that and said, yeah, but does he really want to be here? So I want to go out to Nick Wright really quick because I thought it was kind of crazy. I thought that some of what he had to say was nuts. We're gonna go over to Nick Wright, and we're not gonna watch all of this. We're not gonna listen and react to all of it. But I thought it was very interesting that while Saquon Barkley is viewed as a selfless player and Jalen Hurts is viewed as a selfless player, Devontae Smith is largely viewed as a selfless player, that we still have this narrative out there going into the NFL season that perhaps A.J. Brown isn't. All right, let's go over to Nick Wright. Let's see. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's listen to what he has to say really quick.
So I'd be nervous about everything about A.J. Brown this year. All of it. And wow. I don't think the whole we won the Super Bowl so everything is fine is the... And in fact, Philly is so adamant that they didn't win the Super Bowl. They're not even going to be on the field to watch the banner drop. It's the next year. We did talk about that, by the way, and there were a couple of additional clips that have come out since yesterday about the banner thing. We can get there maybe in a little bit. So I don't even know how much that satiates it. And I do think... I understand some things are media creations. Yes. A.J. Brown being so... This is a media creation. So annoyed. We knew the story of the author of his book. He was reading during the games. Which was totally fine. And ended up helping that author tremendously, by the way. Was not a media creation. And he was... And this, where the history gets a little fuzzy, is it was... When A.J. spoke after the Carolina game. It was like, there is a lot of setting this up, Nick Wright. You better get to the point soon, and we are not doing 4 minutes of this. Passing game needs to get better. It was not Philadelphia was boat racing people just running the ball. It was they were coming off a Carolina game that they barely won before Carolina had all of a sudden looked like a good team. Jalen had thrown the ball 21 times for 108 yards. And there it is. And A.J. was annoyed, and then Brandon Graham came out and was like, yeah, I don't know what happened. They used to be friends. Now he's, somebody wasn't in somebody's wedding, or it was not fake. Then they have the Pittsburgh game, and I'm cutting this off. There was a part of it that I wanted to get to. I'm so annoyed listening to it. And we started with so much positivity that we're not even going to continue. I get it.
national media show. You got to fill some time. You have to try to create something that's going to get clicks. And in fairness, this did get a click. And I'm not saying that Nick Wright is being disingenuous. But like, you're talking about a team that has all of the highest hopes in the world, a team that very much is lining up to be a Super Bowl contending team, a team that has as legitimate of a chance of going back-to-back as any team in the past decade, and that includes some fantastic Kansas City Chiefs teams. This team is as well set up, well poised to potentially go back-to-back as any team. Yes, the strength of schedule is going to be harder. Yes, everyone is going to be gunning for the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions each and every week. There is no way to go under the radar. Sure, all of that is true. They're returning 10 of 11 starters on the offensive side of the ball. The only one being Mekhi Becton, who was, boy, was there a wild set of tweets going on about Mekhi Becton. We did not talk about it on the show. I'm not sure that we're going to talk about it on the show. But we just have to kind of set that aside. I'm actually going to kill off the negativity. Because even though Nick Wright might feel as though he had a point, I actually want to pivot this to a little bit of positivity. Can we pivot to a little bit of positivity? I think we shall. Let's actually go to why I think mentality-wise, the Eagles are about as strong of a team as you can get. And this kind of mentality is exactly why I think the Eagles are in as good of a position as any team in recent memory to go back-to-back. And it's going to start with the guy who Nick Wright just mentioned in a game, had about 108 yards through the air, a guy that A.J. Brown seemed to slight at one point last year, that the passing game had to get better. Let's go to the reigning Super Bowl MVP, Jalen Hurts, because this is ultimately where the tone gets set. You could make a case that the head coach is the one who sets the tone, but ultimately, I'm still very much of the belief that the guy who really does control the mood and the mentality and the makeup and the way that things are going to go on Thursday night tomorrow, but then most Sundays, is going to be Jalen Hurts. This is part of something that's going to run later this week, but I think it's important to start. Let's listen to Jalen Hurts talk about his mentality coming off of a Super Bowl win.
Shot of you walking to the confetti. Was it really your screensaver on your phone?
Yeah, still is.
That's a bit of a revelation. Now, again, this might not mean anything to you, but hold on. We know that after the Eagles lost the Super Bowl a few seasons ago to the Chiefs, that Jalen Hurts, somebody saw on his phone screen that his wallpaper was him walking through the confetti, the Chiefs confetti as it fell out in Arizona. And you would think that, like, okay, that was motivation for Jalen Hurts. And now, perhaps, maybe, just throwing it out there, maybe his background is like him and his, did they get married? His fiance? His significant other? Could it be them? Could his wallpaper be him walking through the positive confetti, the Eagles confetti? Could it be him? Oh, I don't know. Where's the poster at over here? Oh, it's over here. Big Easy, right? Jalen Hurts holding the Lombardi trophy with the confetti behind him. No, it's apparently still the one of him walking through the Chiefs confetti. Let's hear why. This is it, right? This is the video.
There are certain things that you hold on to so it can continue to motivate you.
Call me back.
Oh boy. So he kept the Chiefs confetti picture as his wallpaper, as motivation. It's a long pause.
It changed me. It changed me. It hurt. It hurt, but I wouldn't be where I am. We wouldn't be champions if it didn't happen.
So he kept the Chiefs picture as his wallpaper after losing the Super Bowl, following very tumultuous season, ultimately a Super Bowl winning season, post-Super Bowl, through the offseason, and he starts this attempt to go back-to-back with that picture as his wallpaper and notes that loss changed him. Then he came back more determined than ever. Okay.
You always say I put rings on your hands.
I told you I would.
I know you did.
I'm glad you listened.
Hey, Super Bowl MVP.
Super Bowl champ.
Now, I know that sometimes people take videos like that and they build them up as being much more important than they actually are. And I know that there are people who see stuff like this and think that there's an fair or an unbalanced amount of attention that goes to them, and that we're supposed to put way too much weight into it. That's not how I feel. That to me is almost like quintessential Jalen Hurts, right? That is like the biggest thing that if you're an Eagles fan, you go, all right, is there any fear of complacency here? You think back to like some of the Chiefs teams, right, that were in the midst of a dynasty, and they even admitted at one point that like they might have gotten a little bit complacent, that they got so used to being in a Super Bowl or challenging for a Super Bowl or winning a Super Bowl that maybe you don't have your full focus. Well, rest assured, if it appears as though Jalen Hurts is still very much in the mentality of a guy who wants to win a Super Bowl. Now, to that end, it should then come as no surprise that you have national media pundits that very much believe that Jalen Hurts is going to have a massive year. And one of those people is somebody that we like to refer to on the show at least every once in a while, and that's Kyle Brandt over at Good Morning Football. Because Kyle Brandt earlier today put out his MVP pick, and it should not come as much of a surprise. And again, I've set this up just incredibly well. All right, let's go over to Kyle Brandt and see who he thinks is going to be named MVP this season.
On the field will follow. So what about the story? I got a story. I will tell you the story of a man who conquers the world only to be criticized for how he did it.
Oh, that's true. I mean, even in the Nick Wright clip that we showed earlier about A.J. Brown, we're talking about Jalen Hurts' passing yards in that game. Okay.
A story of a man who stands on the mountain only to be chided for not doing enough. Mm-hmm. A man whose game the league itself moves to outlaw.
How dare you try to take out the tush push?
The classic story will read like this.
Ooh.
The NFL's best player leads the NFL's best team.
Typically how it works. I mean, that is kind of how it works in sports, right? Oftentimes the MVP of the league is the guy who leads the best team in the league. I mean, it happens quite a bit. Tends to be kind of important. Maybe not last year. Were the Ravens really the best team in the league? No. Was Lamar Jackson really the MVP of the league? Okay.
Are you listening to me? These are the facts. They are undisputable.
Okay.
Many will not like it. And that's why I love it.
Bold.
This is the truth. And the truth hurts. EAGLES MVP. Put that in your list.
So, there you go. There's a national media pundit who feels very good about Jalen Hurts' ability to follow up on a Super Bowl MVP and put together an MVP caliber season. Now, remember, on Tuesday's show, we talked about Joe Giglio's takeover on WIP that he thought that Hurts was going to have maybe 3, at most 4 elite games that are kind of at that level of Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl. Kyle Brandt certainly appears to disagree. Now, there's somebody else who has a national media show, and I'm only going to show like 10 seconds of this, but I think it's important. The number one team, according to First Take, today, featuring Stephen A. Smith. This may come as a surprise because Stephen A. Smith's pretty high on the Ravens. He's always been pretty high on the Bills. The Lions also made the top 5. The Chiefs made the top 5. But the number one team, according to Stephen A. Smith over on First Take, is none other than your Philadelphia Eagles. Let's go to it real quick. Oh, we've frozen? How do you freeze Stephen A. Smith? Okay, hold on. I'm going to take Stephen A. Smith down for a second. Now we have to make sure that the buffering is complete. All right, here we go. We're good. Here we go.
Damn it, so is Derrick Henry. You got cats like Bateman,
he had
Zay Flowers, and these brothers.
The Ravens is the number 2 team.
And their coaching is their coaching. They got it all.
Okay.
Lamar Jackson.
No, we don't care about the Ravens, Steven. This is what we care about.
They just ain't number 1 on this board, and we know who that belongs to. It's the reigning, defending Super Bowl champions.
Anytime somebody says reigning, defending, I need Paul Heyman to pop out. The reigning, defending, undisputed champion, Brock Lesnar. I need that. All right, we'll continue.
You ever heard of A.J. Brown? You ever heard of Devontae Smith?
Sure have.
You ever heard of this brother Saquon Barkley, Mr. 2,000-yard rusher, 2005 to be exact?
He's quite good.
You see that Eagles defense? What about that Eagles offensive line? What about
Fantastic.
all of the stuff that we're pointing?
4 of 5 starters returning, except for Mekhi Becton, who, again, bad tweets. Not great tweets. Not that he tweeted anything. It's just there's some screenshots about Mekhi Becton. Not great if they're true. Not good at all. Not very good at all.
When you're a Super Bowl champion, there's no flagrant weaknesses. So look at this right here. You got the Lions, you got the Bills, you got the Chiefs, you got the Ravens, you got the Eagles. I know Mike is in Green Bay. The list is fluid, damn it. But as of right now,
he's got the Eagles at number 1. So that is pretty interesting. Now, the Eagles' strength of schedule is something that I've seen some people putting them down, right? Like when you start having the conversation about who's going to ultimately be the number 1 seed going into the playoffs in the NFC. I've seen some people putting the Eagles a little bit lower, that they still will win the NFC East, even though the expectation is that the Commanders are going to give them a real run for their money, even though we know the Giants are probably not going to do much of anything, even though we know Dallas, without Micah Parsons, is not as good as Dallas would have been with Micah Parsons. You still say there's still enough talent there to win some games. Is it going to be enough to go over 500? Maybe, maybe not. Is it going to be enough to really challenge for the NFC East title? You would certainly expect no. But could you see a team like Green Bay with a Micah Parsons take that next step? Could you see a Detroit bounce back and have an even stronger year this year and make a legitimate push to be the top seed in the NFC? I would say that that's probably within the realm of possibility. Interesting. Very interesting. So now you have national media people getting behind the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's a little nugget that we talked about earlier on in the show in the intro. Saquon Barkley is featured everywhere. I mean, I swear, I saw an ad today with him for Little Caesars, getting 2 one-topping pizzas for $4.99 each. I saw that on TV, and saw that on Twitter, on my little scroll on Twitter this morning. He's featured in an ad there. And now there's something even more interesting, and it's this. Let me hold on a second. The audio did not share here. We're going to have a Saquon Barkley documentary coming to Amazon Prime. So as if all of the things going around the Eagles were not enough, as if we didn't already have a lot of great content coming, which, by the way, is it tonight? Is it Thursday night? It's tonight. They're doing the recap of the 2024-2025 Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. I think that drops on the NFL Network tonight, Wednesday night, on the eve of Eagles-Cowboys to start the NFL regular season. We have that film to look forward to. And now you have a Saquon Barkley documentary. And surprise, surprise, it appears as though they're going to maybe lean into it a little bit about his career to this point, what he had said to the Giants, what the Giants had maybe said to him, and how he ended up becoming a Super Bowl champion with the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's go over to the Saquon Barkley documentary real quick.
I've been using this as my diary, as my therapy. You get to see the journey it took to get to this point.
So it looks like we're going to be getting a lot of stuff from behind the scenes of the life of Saquon Barkley in the NFL career. Here's the thing that I found the most interesting, right? Skydance Sports, NFL Films, and executive producer Martin freaking Scorsese. Oh, I'm locked in. If there was a thought,
oh, maybe this is just going to be not that great of a, I don't know, what kind of documentary is this really good?
Martin Scorsese's an executive producer. Oh, I'm here. I'm here for it.
You're telling me you want me to be a Giant for life. I'm telling you I want to be a Giant for life.
He's got the phone in his hand. Yes, I am going to Zapruder film the hell out of this trailer. This very clearly appears to be Saquon Barkley talking to the front office of the Giants. Right? This appears to be Saquon Barkley having a conversation with the New York Giants before they ultimately said to him, yeah, you know, go see what your value is on the free agent market, and then we'll see if we can match it. Oh boy.
This isn't Madden. This is my life.
That's a damn good line. This isn't Madden. This is my life. Okay.
It's one of the coolest things that I've ever been a part of.
Hey!
Let's go show the world I'm Saquon Barkley.
I mean, I'm like pretty freaking excited for this. I don't get too hyped up about player-specific documentaries. I don't get hyped up that much about behind-the-scenes stuff in general. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. The production quality has to be really good, right? Like, we can all agree that Hard Knocks is really good on HBO. We can all agree to that. And that the in-season Hard Knocks that debuts in, December, featuring the NFC East, hopefully showing all of the things that befell the Dallas Cowboys in trading Micah Parsons. Hopefully we get to see that. But now you have this documentary, Saquon Barkley, pretty much in his own words. And again, executive producer Martin Scorsese. Yeah, I'm in. October 9th. You bet your ass I'm locked in. And by the way, I know I mentioned this before, but what's happening on October 9th? The Eagles and the Giants play in prime time on October 9th. It's a primetime game. So they're going to drop this documentary, presumably in the morning or whatever, right? Maybe even at midnight, going into October 9th. And then that night, Eagles take on the Giants in prime time. Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm very much intrigued because obviously you're going to get some behind the scenes stuff about the Super Bowl winning season. And obviously the hope is going to be that, the season as a whole, this season coming up, is going to be going well. And maybe the Eagles are going into that Giants game undefeated, or maybe the Eagles are going into that Giants game riding a win streak. Pretty interesting stuff. JH is a big fan, obviously, of Saquon Barkley. Says, love Saquon. Tony Louie, shocked to see Martin Scorsese on there as executive producer. Yeah, Peter Tom Willis calling it sick. Tony says if Scorsese's directing it, Leonardo DiCaprio is going to at least make a cameo. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that you want to see, right? This is the kind of stuff that you want to see coming off of a Super Bowl. That's pretty damn cool. All right, so we've got that. And I said lots of positivity today on the show because we're on Eagles Eve. That's what I called in the episode title. We're on Eagles Eve. Now, there's another good little bit of news and notes, and we're not actually going to stick to playing much of what he has to say about it or what he has to say about the game. But a very well-loved, a beloved player in Philadelphia, a guy who helped to deliver not one but two Super Bowls, the only two Super Bowls in the history of the franchise. Very likable guy, very charismatic guy, a guy you listen to on the radio. Brandon Graham is now going to be somebody who is going to be featured in some way, shape, or form over on Good Morning Football. So we had Brandon Graham was on TV today, and he was kind of giving his assessment, right, of Eagles Cowboys ahead of time. Now, again, we're not going to listen to the whole thing here, but Brandon Graham looking pretty comfortable on Good Morning Football.
I think I know he's going to have his first 100-yard game. Because,
the question was about Saquon Barkley, how many yards he's going to have. And Brandon Graham right away says, he's going to have his first 100-yard game of the season. Okay.
When we played Green Bay, we ran on them too, when Kenny Clark was in there. So I'm not worried about any of that. You let go of your best player of your team, and that just let me know that y'all on a rebuild because I don't know if they got anybody to fill that void.
He's talking about Micah Parsons, obviously.
Or he must have just been that bad in the locker room where you had to let a guy go.
Damn! I mean, that's kind of a shot. We don't know that for sure, but it's kind of a shot. If he's your best player and you got rid of him, must have been bad in the locker room. Woo!
But I don't really see the Cowboys doing anything other than, Dak Prescott. If our defense makes sure we get after him, I feel like it'll be a nice little Thursday night for us.
I lied. We played the whole clip. So Brandon Graham, very high on the Eagles. You would expect that. Again, I don't know how many people are going to pick the Cowboys. If everything goes the way that it's supposed to, this should be a blowout. Let's be fair. JH here says, Merry Eagles Eve to all who celebrate. May Sirianni Claus bring you everything you ask for this year. I do have one bit of bad news in the NFL before we move away from the NFL for today, if that's okay. It's really bad news. It's actually some of the worst news that we've had in the NFL in a very long time. Thankfully, it's not a scandal, but it is scandalous in its own way. We got some news. You remember how ESPN and the NFL Network, there was an acquisition of sorts. There was some stock that went the other way. The RedZone package and the RedZone IP was sold to ESPN, where they might end up doing more RedZone than just NFL RedZone. And we all kind of made the joke, ha, ha, ha. Now it's going to be over-commercialized, ha, ha, ha. No longer 7 hours of commercial-free football. And we talked about the fact that last year, RedZone kind of floated this out there. There were some picture-in-picture ads. People got really pissed off about it. They rebelled. Oh, we're paying an extra fee to our cable or to our YouTube or whatever, our satellite provider. We expect there to be no commercials. And we all knew that when ESPN got the rights to RedZone, it was the end of days and there were going to be commercials. Unfortunately, we got confirmation of it. And not only did we get confirmation, I mean, it happened on McAfee's show. And look what's happening around McAfee's show. We have a fucking picture-in-picture ad around this segment talking about commercials on RedZone. All right, let's here's Scott Hanson, one of the most well thought of, highly respected, well-liked media personalities, the guy that has ushered in every season with 7 hours of commercial-free football on Sundays. Scott Hanson, tell us we're not getting commercial breaks. Please just tell us we're not getting commercial breaks.
You're going to maybe go to the bathroom now. If there is like a little... No bathroom. You're still standing in solidarity.
Married to it.
Yeah, I respect it.
17 years?
Yes. But I don't think anybody's upset about the commercials. I mean,
NFL RedZone isn't just doing picture-in-picture commercials. They're not just going to take a game and put it in the lower corner and then have like a 3-quarter ad. They're not going to do the thing that we talked about on this show of, oh, what if the NFL does like a picture-in-picture where a small, kind of like how, like, shit, I have a picture-in-picture right here on the screen right now, right? Like we could do this a whole bunch of ways, right? We could do the little version where I'm down in the corner, little picture-in-picture.
Hi, I'm down here. Hi, everybody. Way down here.
We could do like the regular, there's kind of like the side-by-side picture-in-picture, right? Like we have that available to us as well. And then we have this one. I prefer this one the most. Another picture-in-picture. No, we're getting full screen, full audio commercial breaks in RedZone this year. And Pat McAfee, bless his heart, bless his soul, he's gotten a nice bag from ESPN, so I don't expect him to besmirch the name of his employer, but he says people aren't upset about the commercial. Oh, no, they're very upset about commercial breaks. But maybe Scott Hanson can make us feel a little bit better.
it's an easy thing to kind of tweet about and post about, but I don't think anybody's turning it off because of commercials, and the NFL knows that.
Yes.
And it's...
Well, that is true. RedZone is still by far the best product of its kind on the market. And so, yes, we will not be turning off NFL RedZone, but we are going to be yelling. We are going to be very upset. We are going to be yelling a lot about commercial breaks.
Yeah, we can certainly.
I'll tell you this.
Go ahead,
We've had
Scott.
meetings all off season. We had our rehearsal. We had our dress rehearsal in week 3 of the preseason.
What happened?
And we are not going to sacrifice any great football for any of the business side of things.
How do you make that promise, though? So we have to be fair here. We have to be critical here. How do you not sacrifice football? Now, I don't think anybody gets into specifics, and I this makes me so upset that I'm gonna take it off the screen. How do you ensure that you're not going to sacrifice good football? Let me play out a scenario here. If we get to that point on Sunday where it's halftime everywhere, all of the games have reached halftime, and that's usually where Scott Hanson does the recap of all the touchdowns and a lot of the biggest scoring plays that had happened in recent moments. If there's going to be a full commercial block when no teams are active, cool. If you want to do a full block of commercials right at the start of the 4:05 games, great. But if you go to a full screen, full audio, legitimate commercial break while games are going on, that kills the essence of RedZone, because what happens if you come out of that commercial break and Scott Hanson says, hey, while we were away, 3 touchdowns were scored, here they are. On one hand, you go, all right, at least we're still getting the touchdowns. We're still getting like a little bit of positivity coming back, right? Like maybe we get, some scoring plays. Great, we get a recap. The essence of RedZone is that it happens immediately, or it happens within 15, 20 seconds, right? When they can get it to Scott Hanson with the necessary context and he can kind of break the whole thing down. If we go away for 2 minutes and 5 touchdowns are scored, 4 touchdowns, 2 field goals, there's a turnover, there's a kickoff return, a big kickoff return, maybe a kickoff return for a touchdown, a punt return for a touchdown, there's a game-changing play, there's a huge injury, something happens, and all of these things are missed in real time, and now you're coming back out of that commercial break. Scott Hanson has to get through all those plays. Oh, and by the way, while he's recapping those plays, now we have 3 other big plays that just happened that would have been covered live had it not been for the fucking commercial break that ESPN is going to ram down our throats. Well, then it's a problem, right? Now, again, I know that people are going to think it's an overreaction. Russ, how could you get so upset about NFL Red Zone having commercials? It's the principle of the thing. We've always paid more money to have commercial-free football. And I get it. ESPN paid a lot of money. It's a big deal with the NFL. I know. They have to get their money back somehow. They have to have, ad revenue. Whoop-de-fucking-do, ESPN. Yeah, you're not doing well enough. You need to go get my ad revenue. Huh? I have to pay for a DTC product I don't want? For WWE pay-per-views, PLEs? That's not good enough? I have to pay $30 a month? Or I have to do some kind of bullshit bundle with Hulu and Disney Plus? I don't want Hulu. Who wants Hulu? What do we need on Hulu? No, seriously, what do we need on Hulu? Oh, the Bears on Hulu. I don't need anxiety. What's the point? Disney Plus, useful. Okay, fine, I'm a parent. Disney Plus is useful. We're going to give credit. Give credit to Disney Plus. It is a good product. It's fine. We're not upset with Disney Plus. ESPN, even ESPN Plus, we're not upset with that. But if I have to pay you additional money for a bundle, the least you could do is give me NFL Red Zone commercial fucking free the way it was meant to be. You can't take me from commercial free to then saying, oh, it's going to be fine. We won't miss any quality football. Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Unless it's going to be, welcome to 7 hours of, mostly commercial-free football except for some critical moments. No, this is not okay. You can add commercials to anything you want. I will take picture-in-picture ads as long as I can have a quad box on the screen. You can pitch me Dr. Pepper and Little Caesars and a whole bunch of stuff that I'm definitely not going to buy or consume. You can hit me with ads for Trivago and Kayak or whatever. I don't care. But when I turn on NFL Red Zone, which I'm paying more money for, I expect to have a gosh darn commercial-free experience. Don't tell me that this isn't going to change anything. Bullshit. It does. Don't try to gaslight me. I don't need to be gaslit. The world tries to gaslight all of us about too many things. NFL Red Zone is not supposed to be a controversial thing. NFL Red Zone, it's supposed to be the one place that you can go to have a little bit of peace and a little bit of quiet in this fucked up world. It's supposed to be Red Zone. Okay. Politics, tearing your family apart, right? Other shit, tearing your family and your friends apart. Everybody hates everybody. Everybody's outraged by everything. You like this, you like that. I can't talk to you. NFL Red Zone was the one thing in this world, that we could all believe in. 7 hours of commercial-free football. And ESPN, you took that from us. You took 7 hours of commercial-free football. You took it away. I will not forgive you, ESPN. I won't forgive it. And neither will all of us who have been subscribing to Red Zone. We are going to be mad. We are going to be outraged. But we're still going to watch it because it's still the best option on Sundays. We're going to put up with the commercial breaks. We're going to hate it. We are going to complain about it on social media. But we're still going to watch because Red Zone still rocks. Okay. But ESPN, shame on you. Shame on you. Okay. That got a little bit heated. That went a little bit more than I meant for it to go. But we're okay. We're just going to go over here really quick. Peter Tom Willis. Get me going here. Peter Weiss says, fantastic. JH, get him, Russ. Hold up, let him cook. Yeah. Amadeo, yeah. You probably could turn that into a clip. That's not a bad one, I guess. Jim Cochran says, come on, Russ, you're buying Little Caesars. No, I'm not. No offense to Little Caesars, but I don't think so. Let's see. Reed DeFord says, you buy Little Caesars, you just don't tell people you buy Little Caesars. I really don't. I think I bought Little Caesars one time. I think a Little Caesars opened in Phoenixville at one point, and I tried it, and I went, no. King Alfred's U.S. Descendant says it's better than Steiner Math. No. Steiner Math is a perfect thing. I could never do that. Never again. Jim Cochran says, I think you yelled so hard the Russ stash is now crooked. Oh, boy. Something for me to freak out about now. Okay. I'm upset. And here's the problem. Tony Louis says, that's why I just pirate stuff. If I paid a subscription for everything I watch, I'd spend like $600 a month on TV. Well, here's bad news. Although I'm sure Tony Louis has like 17 different ways to circumvent this. This actually does lead us to a very important topic of the day, in case you missed it, which is that The Athletic put out a gigantic report that apparently Streameast, which some of you have no clue what Streameast is, and some of you, this has been the way that you've consumed a lot of sports and maybe UFC pay-per-views for years. Streameast has been shut down. And this isn't just like they got their hands slapped and they're going to pop up 7 more like Streameast variants. No. According to The Athletic, they're reporting this. The world's largest illegal sports streaming platform, Streameast, shut down its entirety. It's shut down. It was shut down in a sting. A network of 80 domains with 1.6 billion annual visits was targeted by a U.S.-led anti-piracy coalition working in collaboration with Egyptian authorities. Now, I'm sure somebody would get offended if I said, shouldn't the Egyptians be worried about other things? Like, I don't know, finding all of the valuable things at the pyramids. Shouldn't we be excavating the entire desert to see if there are maybe signs of aliens? Wouldn't that be time better spent? But no, Egypt worked with the anti-piracy coalition of the United States, whatever the hell that is, to shut down Streameast. Now, I saw a tweet, and it is one of the most majestic tweets I've seen in a long time. There was somebody who's like going all caps in the midst of sentences to kind of give you a hint of other illegal streaming sites. Now, we at the Russ Joy Show do not endorse illegal streaming. But apparently, according to some people on Twitter, while this is a massive loss for the illegal streaming community, 1.6 billion annual visits. Apparently, there are other ways to still watch your shows. Now, does that include NFL RedZone? I don't know. Here's one thing I do know about NFL RedZone. Even if you do illegally pirate it, it's still going to have commercials because ESPN can't afford anything unless they put commercials on RedZone. We're not doing it again. 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 It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I don't know if it's going to be okay. 7 hours of commercial-free football. Okay. We have other things we need to get to, and we have to get to them quick because I promised you that we were going to. Just going with this idea of corporate greed, which I'm not usually one to like kind of bring up much on the show. Charles Barkley was on Bill Simmons' podcast, and I listened to it yesterday, and I was like, oh my God, Charles Barkley. There were some interesting revelations in his interview with Bill Simmons. One of them is that he and Ernie Johnson, not just Charles Barkley, but he and Ernie Johnson met with NBC and had a conversation about bringing over the whole staff from Turner for the Inside the NBA show, that they were in talks with NBC about potentially bringing some version of the show and bringing their entire production staff and everything from Atlanta over to NBC. And then that fell apart because apparently NBC wanted Charles Barkley to do like the US Open. They wanted him to do stuff around the Olympics, around the NFL, like all of the big properties, horse racing as well. They wanted Charles Barkley on everything. And he was like, no. I want to work less as I get older, not more. That's not even the part of the show that I'm going to bring up here, even though that was a fantastic part. No, we're going to follow this idea of corporate greed messing things up because Charles Barkley went off on the NBA and how hard it's going to be to find games going forward because people are kind of used to Tuesdays and Thursdays. You go to TNT for the national game. You know when to look for national games with ESPN. Barkley thinks that this is just proof that the NBA doesn't care about the fan.
NBA's got a big problem. How are regular fans going to okay, it's Tuesday, especially when they start putting games on.
Where do I go?
Well,
look at this on the screen. And thanks to The Ringer for putting this graphic out there. But all right, so Sunday, ABC, NBC, Peacock. Monday, Peacock. Tuesday, NBC, Peacock. Wednesday, ESPN. Thursday, Prime. Friday, Prime and ESPN. Saturday, Prime and ABC. This is a cluster. I mean, that's just a mess. All right, continue.
Well, because, sometimes the game's going to be on Peacock. And it's not going to be on NBC. I think that's a huge dilemma.
I agree.
For the NBA.
Guess what? They don't care.
I agree.
They got former ESPN employee Bill Simmons, right? And soon to be ESPN employee Charles Barkley.
So much money, they're going to wipe their tears with cash.
Bill, I'm so glad you said that. I think it's a big deal because they just took all the money from all 3 networks.
Correct.
I don't think they give a about the fans. And
that's a pretty big statement from one of the biggest media people, right, around the NBA.
I think this is going to come back to bite them, to be honest with you. And then the thing that's scary, this deal is for 11 years.
Right.
And I think that's actually the bigger part of this. If you agree with Charles Barkley that this really does kind of screw the fans, and it does kind of say that they don't care about the fans, it's 11 years of this. It is a convoluted schedule. There's no getting around it. Like, we saw that graphic on the screen, right? But I'm sorry, you shouldn't have to have Peacock to watch the NBA. You shouldn't necessarily have to have Amazon Prime to watch the NBA. And yes, you can make the case. Well, Amazon Prime, you're going to get it anyway because you want to watch Thursday Night Football, and that's the way to do it. You have to have Amazon Prime. And like previously, you would say like, well, you have to have Peacock if you're a wrestling fan to watch the WWE PLEs, but now those move to ESPN, but all of the archival footage and all of the old pay-per-views are over on Peacock still. So if you're a wrestling fan, you're going to have it anyway. There are so many freaking streaming services, right, that you have to have in addition to having either cable or having an alternative like YouTube TV or Hulu or Fubo or whatever, that it just kind of makes your head spin. And you go, man, like the whole idea of like saving money is way far gone, right? Like you could be spending $60, $70, $80, maybe even more a month on streaming services alone. I mean, you want to watch MLS, you want to be a Philadelphia Union fan, you have to have Apple TV plus the MLS package. You want to have the ability to watch every NFL and NBA game, you have to have Peacock, you have to have Amazon Prime. Presumably you have to have Netflix as well, right? Because they did the Christmas Day stuff last year. That's 3 more. At what point do we say enough is enough? If you do cut the cord and you still want to watch like the CBS NFL games, you have to then have Paramount. There's so many streaming services. Why? What have we done? We've somehow made this worse. Cut the cord. They said it would be fine. It's not fine because now you have to have all these additional services. And oh, by the way, in some ways, it's still cheaper to have a minimal version of cable to package with your internet. I mean, it's wild. Okay, now, this all happens, right? And like Peter Tom Willis here, I have all those networks, which is fine. You could certainly do that. Hexram says that use Twitch for Thursday Night Football. That's fine. Ford says the streaming services thing is absurd. Peacock for NBA? Stop. By the way, you get the other random apps like Paramount for soccer, but also for soccer. It's ridiculous. So you have, that's true. That's for like Champions League. And I think is Serie A there. So you do, like you have all those. It's just a lot. There's so many things that you need to have. Tony Louis, right. Alien Earth, Disney Plus. House of the Dragon, HBO Max. NHL, ESPN Plus, MMA fights, $100 per of pay-per-view, et cetera, et cetera. The one good thing there, obviously, that we know and we've talked about on the show is that Paramount's including all of the numbered UFC events going forward. When I think that's next year, UFC is going to include all of their numbered fights on Paramount Plus. So you're not going to have to pay additional, but still, it's a lot. Jim Cochran's right, though. We somehow made things worse. Yes, Russ, that's what we do best. Yes, it is. All right, now, speaking of making things even worse, really quick, not that a lot of people are going to care, but I thought this was kind of funny. Emmanuel Lacho goes to Twitter today, and he puts out this clip, and it makes you think, oh, my God, like, what's going on? Because remember, Emmanuel Lacho and LaShawn McCoy, they were on a show on FS1 that got canceled, got replaced with a Barstool show that I meant to talk about yesterday, I meant to talk about today. It's not going to happen today. Emmanuel Lacho goes to social media. It kind of makes you think, uh-oh, is everything okay, Emmanuel?
What's up, y'all? After a lot of consideration, deliberation, and if I can be honest, cancellation.
Ooh.
I've really been thinking about my sports media career. You know, it's been a long...
What's going on, Emmanuel? Are you leaving sports media?
Acho, quit the emotional bullshit. We got work to do.
So Emmanuel Lacho and LaShawn McCoy are starting their own show on YouTube. Live NFL, post-NFL game days, and they're also doing the show on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Not at a time that conflicts with the Russ Joy Show. We worked this out, guys. Emmanuel Lacho, Shady, and I, we all talked. We said, hey, let's not step on each other's toes. Make sure your show comes on after the Russ Joy Show. Obviously, that had to have happened. So they're going to go out on their own. We talked about the Neil Everett and Stan Verrett duo that used to do the West Coast Sports Center. They're doing their own thing over on Twitch. You see this kind of stuff happening. We'll see if it takes off. It's almost like player empowerment in the post-playing days age. We'll see if that ends up working. Now, there's one other thing that I wanted to get to, and it is a huge, huge deal. And we're going to get to it here in a second. It's the Kawhi thing. But before we get there, one little bit of news and notes that made me feel nauseous today, and it came up, and Video Guy Amadeo, I think, is the one who actually sent this to me before I saw it on my own. The NHL in 2026-27 is going to do something wild. Now, remember, yesterday we talked about the fact that the AHL apparently is going to allow 19-year-olds, one 19-year-old per team to get loaned. Then that seemed to have gotten shot down. That might not be going into effect for 25-26, which means that Jet Lashenko would not then be eligible this upcoming season. We're not going there. We're not talking about the specifics of it. No, we're going to talk about this. Pierre LeBrun puts out, as reported before, but now the NHL has started to put it together. The regular season will begin in late September for the 26-27 season. The Cup will be awarded mid-June, preseason shortened, and regular season extended to 84 games. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, Russ, I bet that makes you happy because the preseason sucks. You probably love having more regular season games. And to that I say, no, I don't. I do not need more regular season hockey games. I do not need an excuse for there to be new records set in the National Hockey League. I do not need there to be an excuse for more ad revenue. No, I don't. I don't. And I'm going to tell you why. It's because the NHL has too many teams as is, and yet they're looking at expansion. And the one way to expose a league that is full of parity, because there are very many mediocre at best teams in the league, is by having them play even more regular season games. Now, I get it. It's not a fundamental shifting of the landscape, right? 2 extra regular season games. This is not some ridiculous over-the-top change. It's only 2 regular season games. But I don't need to see that. Who needs 2 extra regular season games? Do we think that this is going to help to weed out the team that's really the 12th best team in each conference and make sure that they're knocked out of it a little bit ahead of time? What do we need 2 extra regular season games for? Who's that for? Who is clamoring for 84 regular season games? It was not me. I was not clamoring for this. I actually would have made the case that the NHL would have been better off going to fewer games in the regular season. I also think that they should contract and they should reduce the number of teams so that you have more teams with elite skill or more teams that can actually win games and potentially make the playoffs and give the top seeds in each conference a better run for their money. We don't get that. 84 games seems like way too many. I get it. It's only 2 more. But in a league that is full of parity, I don't need 2 more regular season games. Okay. Now, we're going to get to the big story of the day. And it happens to come almost an hour into the show. And I get it. I intended on this being something that we were going to talk a lot about today. And yet we're not. And why? Because we're kind of out of time. Pablo Torre, on his show, Pablo Finds Out, uncovered one of the biggest potential scandals in not just NBA history, not just in recent NBA memory. We're talking one of the biggest potential scandals that has been unearthed in North American professional sports. Maybe ever, okay? Pablo Torre found out that there was money going to an LLC that very clearly appears to be aligned with Kawhi Leonard, and that there may have been a circumvention of the NBA cap at play. And that Steve Ballmer, the owner, very wealthy man, 6th wealthiest man in the world, I believe, right? The wealthiest owner in all of professional sports globally. They might have been circumventing the cap, putting together a $28 million deal across 4 years for Kawhi Leonard to be part of a company that he was going to essentially no-show, according to one source in the video. I would absolutely encourage you to go find the full clip. And we're not going to get to all of it here. But this is just a taste. This is just a glimpse, a glimmer of what Pablo Torre found out through some investigative journalism around Kawhi Leonard and this side deal that appears to have been in place for $28 million. Let's go to this. We're actually going to skip ahead a little bit because this is where it really gets interesting. Right here.
And an executed document. In consideration of the rights and benefits granted to company hereunder, the company will pay KL2, which is Kawhi, $28 million in cash?
That's David Sampson reading that.
During the term of this agreement.
$7 million each year of the term, 4-year term.
Company will pay KL2 $7 million each year of the term.
That is Kawhi Leonard's.
And there you go. Kawhi Leonard, the managing member, he signs off on it. The CEO of this company sign off on it, $28 million. Now, we're going to skip ahead because they ended up having a former employee from this company, Aspiration, who, by the way, the branding, it has come out since. There was some branding, including in 2023, I believe it was. there was a Clippers tweet wishing Kawhi Leonard a happy birthday, and it was like sponsored by or had aspiration on the image wishing him a happy birthday. Let's jump in here.
Single largest payment to an individual for marketing that Aspiration ever made has completely evaded all press. It's on.
So this former employee, whose ID has obviously been obscured for all kinds of reasons, they claim that this was the highest paid person, right? Kawhi Leonard, $28 million deal, but did no kind of marketing. No kind of endorsed posts, ads, sponsored posts, nothing on social media. It's almost as if he may have been paid $28 million to do nothing, which would then make you wonder, well, why did he get paid $28 million in the first place? All right, we'll keep going.
Honestly, incredible. Nothing. He didn't have to do anything.
In other words, Kawhi Leonard got from Aspiration a $28 million no-show job.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm honestly so jealous.
That is gigantic. Now, I saw Pablo Torre went on Dan Patrick's show today, Wednesday, kind of dove into it a little bit more, said that when they reached out to the Clippers and Steve Ballmer for comment, the Clippers and Ballmer said that there is no truth to this, and that ultimately there would be nothing found that would kind of give credence to the accusations, to the findings. And then Pablo Torre said they didn't know at the time that they had 3,000 pages of documents and quite a few sources that had helped them in this investigation. Pretty wild stuff. Now, that's crazy in and of itself. But here was a thing that came up kind of in tandem with it and then makes you go, oh, this is not good for Kawhi. This is not good for the NBA. Gambo 987, who's John Gambadoro, who covers or has done radio in Arizona, out in Phoenix, spent 29 years as an afternoon drive host. He put out a report that apparently Kawhi Leonard was asking for money to be set aside by the Toronto Raptors when going through negotiations there. And so we're actually going to pull up this tweet really quickly because this is nuts. Like, this was the kind of report that you go, all right, why didn't this come out sooner? Maybe you wait for somebody to go public with a much bigger finding like Pablo Torre did. But this is from John Gambadoro. And he says, the story's fascinating. From what I know from sources, when Kawhi signed with the Clippers, Toronto owner Larry Tannenbaum was beside himself because he believed he bent over backwards for Kawhi, including calling 3 sponsors to meet Kawhi's demand of an extra $15 million in endorsement money. This was brought to the attention of Adam Silver as a concern over the cheating going on in the league being out of control, but no action was taken as it was thought Tannenbaum didn't truly understand the rules, only a promise to get more serious about it in the future. So if that report is true, right, if that report is true that Toronto thought they were going to get Kawhi Leonard to re-sign because they set up $15 million in endorsement money, right, set up outside of the contract, right, outside of the CBA. They thought they were good to go, only for us to find out years later, there's $28 million kind of set up by this company Aspiration, paid out to an LLC with Kawhi Leonard signing the contract, nearly twice as much money as what he apparently had requested of Toronto to set up in side endorsement deals. And this is pretty wild. Now, the question becomes, what is the NBA going to do with this information, right? Because this is bad, very bad. If you are somebody who cares about the NBA, the question now becomes, is this the kind of modus operandi? Is this the thing that is being done by multiple teams? Is this the kind of thing that's always been done? Have there always been players getting shady kind of side endorsement deals that are essentially no-show gigs? Or perhaps have there been times where owners have maybe worked out with top sponsors an endorsement deal that the brand may not have initially wanted to pursue or may not have thought to pursue with the player initially, but the owners and the organizations are kind of working a backdoor deal, an endorsement deal for a player to pay them even more money in addition to what they're getting paid, at least per the CBA. This will be an interesting thing. Adam Silver has not always done a great job of shutting down scandals when they occur. the funniest thing is that the thing he was maybe the most definitive about, right, was going after Sam Hinkie and the Philadelphia 76ers. So, of course, you have the Clippers and Donald Sterling getting forced out as an owner. That is certainly something. But there have been moments in this league where you go, wow, like the commissioner should probably step in, should probably take the reins. And he hasn't done it yet. This is something that has to be investigated. And the question now becomes, will there be a suspension to Kawhi Leonard? Will there be some kind of a penalty issued to the Clippers? So what can you do? Steve Ballmer is incredibly wealthy. A fine isn't going to matter. They have given up most of their picks, I think up until like 2030. So that's not going to help. Could they try to force Steve Ballmer to sell the Clippers if this is proven to be true? I don't know how they could. I mean, I guess they could. But what's one thing you don't want to mess with if you're Adam Silver? One of your owners, especially a billionaire, especially one of the wealthiest people in the world. If you think Steve Ballmer doesn't know where some of the skeletons are, if you think he doesn't know where some of the proverbial bodies are buried, you're out of your mind. Is the NBA going to go to war with one of the wealthiest men in the world? I don't think they will, but they have to do something here, right? Unless Adam Silver is going to come out and say, oh, this is something that has long been done, but we're going to put new protocols in place to ensure that going forward, teams don't try to circumvent the cap through sponsorships and endorsement deals. Good luck. Good luck with that. Jim asks, why would Kawhi be suspended? Who wouldn't take that money? The owner and the GM should be banned. The suspension, you would think, would come into play because he is still a member of the NBAPA, right? He's a member of the Players Association, right? And the thought would be that as an active member of that, there might be something in the bylaws as a player within that union to not take that kind of money to knowingly circumvent the cap. Maybe. Is there something within the contract that's signed between the player and an organization that has structure, you would think, and backbone from the NBA? Did he violate something by knowingly circumventing the cap? I don't know, but we'll find out. Now, we'll be back on Friday here on The Russ Joy Show, on The Russ Joy Show YouTube channel, on the Joy Media YouTube channel, on Facebook, and on X at Joy on Broad. You can follow the show, like the video, share the video, subscribe. Seriously, it helps. Ring the bell to get notified whenever we go live with the show. We'll be back on Friday to recap Eagles-Cowboys. Thanks for hanging in for a little bit longer than usual episode of the show. Hope you enjoyed it. We talked about the Eagles. We talked about some stuff in the NHL, the NBA. We did a lot today on the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Do me a favor if you can. Like the video, share the video, subscribe. If you see the short form stuff on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, give it a like. Like the show on those channels as well. Until Friday, this has been The Russ Joy Show. I've been Russ Joy, but you knew that already because you're smart, and it's also the name of the show. Go Birds. I'm going to say Eagles win by at least 2 touchdowns on Thursday Night Football. Let's reconvene on Friday. Have a great day, everybody. Bye now.